Liverpool. You hear the name and immediately think one thing. The Beatles. Maybe the football clubs. Maybe the accent. But here's what nobody tells you. While you were associating this city with the Fab Four and football rivalry, Liverpool was busy inventing the crossword puzzle, building the world's first commercial dock, hosting the author of Moby Dick at America's very first overseas consulate, and becoming Gotham City on screen. Oh, and the reason people are called Scousers? That comes from a Norwegian stew. These are 10 facts about Liverpool that will completely change how you see one of England's most influential cities. Number 10. The Liver Building's clock faces are bigger than Big Ben's. You know Big Ben, right? The famous clock tower in London, the symbol of British timekeeping. Well, the clock faces on Liverpool's Royal Liver Building are actually larger. Big Ben's faces measure 23 feet in diameter. The Liver Building's faces measure 25 feet. 2 feet might not sound like much, until you realize that for over a century, Liverpool has quietly had the biggest clock faces in Britain, and nobody ever talks about it. The building itself was one of the first reinforced concrete structures in the world when it was completed in 1911. And those liver birds on top, we will get to those. Number 9. The name Scouser comes from a Norwegian stew. You probably know that people from Liverpool are called Scousers, but you may not know why. The name comes from a dish called Scouse, which was shortened from lobscouse, a cheap meat and potato stew eaten by sailors across Northern Europe. Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, and German sailors all had versions of this dish, and when they came through Liverpool's port, they brought the recipe with them. By the mid-1800s, working-class families in Liverpool were eating it because it was affordable and filling. Outsiders started calling these people Scousers because of the food they ate. So the entire identity of Liverpudlians, the accent, the culture, and the pride is named after a sailor's stew that most people outside the city have never even heard of. Number 8. America's first ever overseas consulate was in Liverpool. In 1790, just 7 years after American independence, George Washington established the United States' first overseas consulate right here in Liverpool. The city was that important to American trade. In 1853, President Franklin Pierce appointed the novelist Hawthorne, the man who wrote The Scarlet Letter and The House of Seven Gables, as the American consul in Liverpool. Hawthorne worked there for 4 years. In 1856, another American literary giant came to visit him. Melville, the author of Moby Dick, traveled to Liverpool to see his friend. The two of them walked the beaches of Southport discussing fate, mortality, and the meaning of existence. Two of America's greatest writers in Liverpool, having philosophical conversations about the nature of life. The pub where Dickens later researched Victorian crime is still standing. The plaque commemorating the consulate is still there. This city was hosting American literary legends before most of us were born. Number 7. Liverpool invented football nets, the crossword puzzle, and the hovercraft. Not different cities. The same city. In 1889, a Liverpool engineer named John Brodie got frustrated watching football matches where nobody could tell if the ball actually went in the goal. So he invented the goal net. It was first trialled by the Football Association in 1891, and by 1894 every football match in England required them. Every goal celebration you have ever seen exists because of that one frustrated engineer from Liverpool. Then, in 1913, a journalist from Liverpool named Arthur Wynne was working at the New York World newspaper. He was designing the puzzle page and came up with something he called a word cross. It was the world's first crossword puzzle. Billions of people have done crosswords since then, all from a Scouser working in New York. And in the 1950s and 1960s, engineers at the Saunders Row facility developed early hovercraft technology right here in the region. The first passenger hovercraft service in Britain ran from nearby Rhyl to Wirral in 1962. So football nets, crosswords, and hovercrafts, all Liverpool. Number 6. The Titanic was registered in Liverpool. You know the Titanic, everyone knows the Titanic. It is the most famous shipwreck in history. It was built in Belfast and it sank in the Atlantic. But here is what most people do not realize. The Titanic was registered in Liverpool, and the word Liverpool was painted on her stern. The White Star Line, the company that owned her, was headquartered in Liverpool. Most of the ship's senior officers were Liverpudlians. The company's office, where frantic families gathered waiting for news after the disaster, still stands today. It is now a hotel. You can book a room in the building where people once waited to learn if their loved ones had survived the most famous maritime disaster in history. When the Titanic sank, Liverpool's newspapers were among the first to break the story, because this was their ship, their company, their people. Number 5. Liverpool was transformed into Gotham City for the Batman. In 2020, director Matt Reeves needed a city that could become Gotham. Not New York, not Chicago. It was Liverpool. St. George's Hall became Gotham City Hall. The Royal Liver Building became the Gotham City Police Department. Wellington Square became Gotham Square. The Walker Art Gallery became Gotham General Hospital. Robert Pattinson's Batman stood on top of the Liver Building before gliding through the streets. The production was so large that at the time, it was reported to be the biggest film shoot on the planet. If you've ever wondered why Gotham in that film looks different from previous versions, it's because you're not looking at America, you're looking at Liverpool. Number 4. Liverpool and Everton literally swapped kit colours for 4 years. You know the two clubs, right? Liverpool play in red and Everton play in blue. Except that's not how it started. When Liverpool Football Club was founded in 1892, they did not have any money for kits. So they rummaged through Anfield's storeroom and found Everton's old blue and white strips that had been left behind. Liverpool played in blue and white for 4 entire seasons. Meanwhile, Everton, who had just moved to Goodison Park, decided to change their kit colour to ruby red. So for 4 years, from 1892 to 1896, Liverpool wore blue and Everton wore red. Let that sink in. The most famous colour rivalry in English football was completely reversed for nearly half a decade. It was not until Everton switched to royal blue in 1896 that Liverpool finally bought red shirts and became the Reds we know today. Number 3. Charles Dickens was sworn in as a special constable in Liverpool. One of the greatest writers in the English language loved Liverpool so much, he once said, "Liverpool lies in my heart, second only to London." But Dickens did not just visit to give readings at St. George's Hall. In 1860, he wanted to research the criminal underworld of the docks for his writing. So he convinced the chief constable to swear him in as a special constable for one night. He patrolled the streets around the Albert Dock, Wapping and Canning Place, walking through what he described as the obscurest streets and lanes of the port. He witnessed sailors' lodging houses, visited areas where men were murdered, and walked alleys so dark the police had to feel their way along the walls. The experience became material for his writing. There is a plaque today at the old police station where Dickens started his shift. The building is now a bar. You can have a drink in the exact spot where Charles Dickens began his night as a Victorian policeman. Number 2. The liverbirds were supposed to be eagles, but nobody knew what an eagle looked like. In 1207, King John wanted Liverpool to have an eagle as its symbol. The problem was that people in medieval Liverpool had never actually seen an eagle, so they designed something based on descriptions. What they created was the liver bird, which looks more like a cross between a cormorant and a mythical creature than any eagle you've ever seen. There are 2 of them on top of the liver building now. The male, named Bertie, looks out over the city to protect families. The female, named Bella, looks out to sea to watch for sailors coming home. Legend says they must never face each other. If they do, Liverpool will cease to exist. Nobody knows exactly where this legend came from. For over 800 years, the symbol of Liverpool has been a bird that only exists because medieval artists did not have Google. Number 1. Liverpool has two of the most important medical firsts in history, and one of them came from a Nobel Prize. In 1898, Liverpool opened the world's first school of tropical medicine. 4 years later, a researcher there named Professor Ronald Ross made a discovery that would save hundreds of millions of lives. He proved that malaria was transmitted by mosquito bites. For this, he won the Nobel Prize in 1902, and the committee said he had conferred the greatest benefit on mankind. Before Ross, nobody knew how malaria spread. After him, the entire approach to fighting the disease changed. Every malaria prevention program in history traces back to that discovery in Liverpool. The medical breakthroughs did not stop there. Liverpool was home to the first use of X-rays in medical diagnosis in Britain in 1896 at the Southern Hospital. The first anti-tuberculosis campaign in Britain started here. The School of Tropical Medicine is still operating today, still conducting research that saves lives across the world. Liverpool doesn't have the political power of London or the industrial mythology of Manchester, but it invented goal nets, crosswords, and hovercrafts. It registered the Titanic. It hosted Hawthorne and Melville. It became Gotham City. It gave Dickens his research. It gave the world a symbol designed by people who had never seen the animal they were trying to draw. And it made a discovery that has saved more lives than most countries ever will. The city has been shaping the world while everyone else was singing along to Yesterday. If this changed how you see Liverpool, subscribe for more stories about places that don't get the respect they deserve. And if you want to see which other English city has been hiding its influence in plain sight, that video is on screen now.